a.m. here in New Zealand. It's a pretty regular thing on a Sunday morning, this live stream. So those that are joining us, thank you very much. Give me a second to get set up, and if you can let me know what the visual and the audio is like, because we've had a lot of rain recently. It's been pretty crap, to be honest. Boom, boom, boom. Come on, YouTube, you can do it. There we go. Excellent. Right, who we got in the workshop? We have Mr. Simon Rawle. Good morning, Simon. Welcome back, matey. Simon says, morning, Lord Andy and crew. Thank you, Simon. You see? Excellent. I'll get rid of the adverts. Don't want that. The Giant Governor. Good evening, Andy and family. How are you doing, Andy? Watching from South Africa. Good morning, Vijayant, and welcome back, sir. Great to have you on board. Now, Roger Heaps. Good morning, Andy and crew. Hope all are fit and well. Great segue, Roger. Well, it's been quite a journey. As you all know, I contracted COVID for the first time and tested positive a week last Monday, so almost 2 weeks ago. And a bit of a shock, in all honesty, but I was feeling really rough. Not with flu symptoms, just real achy and very, very tired. And, oh, pardon me. And basically, I just sort of stayed at home, which is what you're supposed to do, and just did admin work, basically. Just lots and lots of emails and other stuff that I do on my laptop for work. Can't elaborate too much, to be honest. And slowly sort of came right. Didn't affect my lungs, which I was very, very grateful for. That was the one thing I was concerned about, was affecting my breathing. But man, it made me feel very tired indeed. And probably the biggest take from it was the ability to think, to compute, to work things out, to construct emails, to have a detailed conversation on emails, technical stuff. You know, you had to really think about it and reread my emails to make sure that I was getting it right, which obviously took a lot longer. But this last Wednesday, I tested negative, which was really good. I was very pleased to get that behind me. But saying that, it really was just the test. Sure, it was negative, but I was still feeling quite knackered, in all honesty. And yesterday, I came out with Mrs. Mechanic and we started working on our RoV after, on the Friday, doing quite a long road trip to take one back and bring another one down. And the one we've got here now is very poorly indeed. It really is, but more on that a bit later on. So yeah, just knackered, to be honest. And hopefully I can shrug this off over the next few days and get back to full productivity. Kev Straw, Monochrome Racing, morning, Lord Andy and crew. You guys are getting a hang of this, aren't you? Morning, Kev. Welcome aboard, matey. Tony Eden, hey, from the homeland, GB. Good man. Good old England, eh? Daniel Beddle. Hello, Andy and Mrs. Mechanic and crew. Mrs. Mechanic's having a long-earned rest this morning. She's, as far as I'm aware, she's still in bed, which is good because she's tired. She, unfortunately, also caught the big C, and it hit her a bit harder than me, to be honest. Quite wheezy and coffee and, you know, just knackered, really. But other than that, she's doing okay. And she was here yesterday cleaning out calipers that I'd stripped down. And the calipers were in a really bad state. She had her work cut out with us. They're all stripped. They're over there in a box. You can't see them, obviously, because it's the wrong brand. But today, I have to finish those off, put the new pistons and seal kits in, and then we paint over where the piston area is on the caliper to help prevent corrosion, because these machines operate on the beach and corrosion is the biggest problem to them. And then we can chuck some new pads in and then they're done. They can go on the vehicle and get bled up. That's not really the problem. The problem is it's got a broken rear spring, which I do have a spare coil spring here, so that's good. But the biggest problem is the steering. They complained that the steering was getting really, really heavy, and they weren't kidding. It was horrific. It turns out that both the UJs on the steering shaft assembly that runs from basically from just below the power steering unit on the bulkhead down to the steering rack, both of them were absolutely sea solid. Now, normally I carry one of those shafts in stock with my huge array of parts for that particular model. Unfortunately, I must have used it and didn't order another one, so I haven't got the part. There is one in Auckland. I've sent the email. Hopefully, I can get it out first thing Monday morning, and we can get it fitted. It should hopefully arrive Tuesday morning and get it fitted and back to Auckland on the Wednesday, because I have to go back up to Auckland on Wednesday at some point, and I really need to take that RoV back. It's for one of the surf clubs that only has one RoV. This is their only machine. And over the Christmas period is a very busy period on the beach, providing the weather picks up, because it's pretty crap at the moment. So they desperately need it back. And of course, I've got all the servicing stuff to do, which will get most of that out of the way today, I think. So there you go. Been busy. Oh my word, you guys are flat out on the comments now. Hang on, let me just roll back a little bit. Dum, 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 dum. George Body 90. Hello, everybody. Good morning, George. Welcome back to the workshop, sir. Now, Craig Padley. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, Craig. Bless you, knocks. Bless you, knocks the stuffing out of you. It really does. I mean, I sort of spend most of my time in a bit of a knackered days anyway. To be perfectly honest, long days, lots to do, juggling work and jobs at home and lots of traveling as well. And it does, over time, it gets you down, to be honest. It wears you down. But this time round with the big C, yeah, it's been hard. It's been really hard. And just very sweaty, actually, at the moment. It's very humid down here in Taupo. Well, I'm not in Taupo, but near Taupo. Very, very humid, lots of rain, but also quite warm as well. And that's not ideal for in the workshop, to be honest. It winds me up. Now, where else do we get to? Valley Cat 65, that's a new one. Hello from Ontario, Canada. Valley Cat, welcome to the Andy Mechanic Workshop. And you're joining a very elite team that we have every Sunday morning. It's not one of those live streams like Erico gets or Ivan and so on that get thousands and thousands of viewers. We get a very select few, which is fine by me, because it's this is my downtime. This is the one chance each week I get to spend a bit of time with my mates, basically having a bit of a chat and a bit of a recap on what I've done for the last week and what's coming up as well. Plus, we talk about diagnostic stuff and people with broken vehicles and how to fix them, and try and just as a group put a bit of input in there to help people out. That's what it's all about, really. That and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, which YouTube probably don't like the cigarettes, but anyway. Kev Straw, Monochrome Racing. The foggy mind, that's a very good way of putting it. The foggy mind thing can take weeks to get back to normal. It took me 2 months. COVID hit me really hard. Was off work for 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Holy crap. I was officially on sick leave, but I just had so much work to do to catch up. And I'm not the kind of person that likes to sit around doing nothing. I was capable in doing that work. And I felt good by doing so. I didn't do a full 8-hour day. Some days were maybe 4 hours, some were 6. Maybe the odd day was 7 hours. But, I just took it easy, got done what I could get done, and tried to make sure that what I was doing was correct. That was the important bit, and that was the hardest part. It really was. Sheldon is in the workshop. Good morning, Sheldon. Morning, Lord and Lady Mechanic. And fellow peasants. You have a way with words, don't you, Sheldon? Good man. George Body 90. COVID kicked my butt for about a week and screwed up my taste and smell for about a month. That's something which we obviously, both of us had heard about that, because lots of people have had COVID over the last few years. And I was monitoring my taste buds. I could still taste, but there was definitely a residual flavor in my mouth. It was like I was chewing on old leather all the time. It was really weird. It's sort of gone now. Either that or you smoked 2 packets of cigarettes at the pub the previous night, which I've never done. But just that really, horrible taste in your mouth. And I'd go and brush my teeth and try and get rid of it, but it just wouldn't go away. It was really weird. Wade Mayer. Hang on a minute, Wade. Just scroll down a bit. Where has he gone? There he is. When I was in the clinic with it, they warned me about sea brain. Took about 3 months to shake it myself. So sea brain, or that fog that we were talking about, it is weird. Mrs. Mechanic was watching last week's live stream and she said, man, you didn't have drivel. You know, there was a lot of waffle going on. And I think that was part of it. I mean, I do traditionally waffle a bit anyway, but yeah, it's just bizarre. It really is. Simply Diagnostics. Oh, Steve is in the workshop. Steve, great to hear from you, matey. Steve says, evening, Andy. Hope you're all well. Recovering from the big C, Steve. Unfortunately, it finally got me week last Monday. So I've tested negative now. I'm all good. So you're not going to catch it over the airwaves, fortunately. But yeah, it has knocked me for 6. So I have a lot of work to get done over Christmas, which is weird. Oh, we did actually, when I went up to Auckland, we also picked up all the laser cutting as well. So we've got all that here now. It doesn't look like a lot. It's a slightly smaller batch than what we normally do. It's about 47 or 48 kits. But that's going to keep us busy over Christmas. And hopefully we'll have those kits all ready for delivery early January, because I know that there's customers out there that are desperately in need of these kits again. That's why we've done another run. So that's going to be probably 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 days worth of work to get those done, sprayed up and packed and everything. But we've got everything here now that we need to get it done. So the only traveling that I've got left to do is one more trip up to Auckland, which is on Wednesday, probably in the afternoon, and go and get it delivered back. Thursday, I've got a delivery to do up at Whangarei Heads, which is about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours north of Auckland. Probably 2 hours, to be fair. Middle of nowhere. They're getting a brand new RoV for their surf club, so it's a privilege in some respects for me to go and deliver it for them, talk them through what they need to do to look after it properly, and then head back into Auckland again that day. And then Friday, probably a few hours at head office in the morning, and then head home in the afternoon. And that's me done then for Christmas. I go back to work, I think it's the 10th of January, I actually go back. So I'll have a good break. And I'm going to make sure I take some of that time off just to relax a little bit. I do want to get some videos knocked out. I've got a few lined up ready to do. The weather's been atrocious recently, so you know, the audio would have been terrible anyway, even if I'd had the time to do those videos. So hopefully over Christmas I can get some videos done. An update on the DR200 farm special videos. Grant, who's doing the editing, he unfortunately, well, good for him, he's been snowed under with work for the last few weeks. He was planning to get the first episode out for Christmas. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. The editing of my videos, the trip, that's the only one he's doing, is the trip videos, is on the back burner. It's there to infill when he's quiet, basically, because I can't afford to pay him full rate. So we're just gonna dribble it through as and when he has a bit of time to get done. But he has promised me he'll be working on it over Christmas, and we should see the first episode hit the channel sometime early January. Fingers crossed. Now, where do we get to? So Steve, yes, Steve, I hope you're getting a lot better, sir. It's been some time, and we're all, you know, our thoughts go out to you, and, you know, keep safe. And we're looking forward to you hitting the channel again. We really are. But I really appreciate your comment this morning, matey. It's great to have you join in. It really is. Pete Neves, hi Andy and crew. Hope you're feeling better. I am. I'm feeling a lot better. Just still that tired thing going on. Yeah. And I haven't forgotten how to drive, which is good. Friday's drive was 14 hours from home to back home again. Sure enough, we had a couple of stops along the way, but it was a slow-going trip, was that one. A lot of traffic in Auckland, a lot of stops along the way. Oh, update. I did meet in Tiru on the way heading north. I met Brandon from Tang Tools. It was an ad hoc meet. It was just in the same petrol station as I was. So I ran through with him about the trip that Mrs. Mechanic's doing in March. See, brain fog. In March. And he was very interested in that. And he said he's going to sort us out with a full array of tools for in the vehicle, in the support vehicle for the trip. So he's got a brand new toolkit that's just been released. So it's a full kit, toolbox, all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that. And then we can take a look and see what it includes. I might need to add a few bits and pieces to it to suit the monkey bike. But in general, pretty good score. And very keen to get the little Jimny all logoed up with the various sponsors and so on for the trip as well. I was going to call it Expedition Support Vehicle. something like that, or expedition vehicle, or expedition support. That might do the trick. Expedition support will be somewhere on the vehicle as well. And we're not going to go for full color graphics. We're going to go for monochrome. So all the logos of the various sponsors will just be monochromed. The vehicle is basically black, so all the logos will be in various shades of grey on the vehicle. So it's not too glary, but they'll get pride of place on there. I also spoke to Suzuki New Zealand earlier this week, and they also tentatively seem quite keen to assist in some way. Obviously not with the purchase of the vehicle, that's already been done. The vehicle is being picked up on, I think, either Tuesday afternoon or first thing Wednesday morning. Watch this space. Looking forward to getting this brand new Jimny. Should be a cool little truck, to be honest. Sheldon, blame the parts department manager, i.e. Marmite. Yes. Tell me about it, honestly. Normally I have all the bits, but this time round, I mean, you know, can't always carry everything, can I? Oh my word, we've got some spam. We don't want spam, do we? Right. Simon. Evening, Steve. Hope you're on hang on, hope you're on the up, mate. Absolutely. We're all thinking about you, matey. We really are. It's amazing how many people ask about Steve. It really is. He is surely missed at the moment on YouTube and Facebook, to be fair. He does some pretty good posts on there as well. But we've just got to sit tight. He'll come round. I'm sure he'll be back to 100% before we know it. Roger Heaps, Pie. Pie is a bit of a disappointment today. You may remember a few live streams ago, I had this one. It's been sat in the freezer. We've already scored this, but it's a last resort pie. It's the only one we've got on the premises. We did attempt to try and get one on the drive on Friday. Just didn't happen. Couldn't find a dairy that was open on the way home. So no pie, unfortunately. And it was pouring down the rain as well. I was actually really tired. It was very fortunate Mrs. Mechanic was with me, because she kept me awake and, you know, made sure I was okay to drive and everything, because it was hard work. It really was. And we got home and that was it. I just flaked out on the sofa. I was just buggered. This one is, dare I say it, an Irvin's the Beast, and it's the beef, bacon and cheese. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it because I'm hungry. But yeah, it was in the freezer this morning, so I'm about to defrost it. So it's still quite warm coming out of the microwave. So maybe not the full 23 minutes on that one. Anyway, I'll just finish my cigarette and then we'll chuck it in the pie warmer. Ashley Derrick. Hey Andy, not tried silicon bronze TIG brazing yet. Ooh, me neither. But just bought a new Pulse MIG and heard good things about MIG silicon bronze bracing. Ever tried it? I haven't. Interested to find out more about that, actually. I might try to see if there's a YouTube video on it, because I say I've never done anything like that before. As regards welding, realistically, I tend to limit myself just to MIG. I've got an old Murex, what is it, 251. Murex 251 it is. It's a really old one from England. At the time, it was the largest single-phase MIG that I could buy, and it's been absolutely brilliant. It was purchased probably about 96, 97, and it's been really, really good. I mean, it's basic, but it works, and that's the important thing. There's no LED display on there and stuff. It just does the trick, and it's with a decent power supply, which we've actually got now. You can weld some pretty big stuff. I was struggling to weld these beams around the workshop when I did them, because we were using the original power supply for the workshop, and it really wasn't up to the job, to be honest. It really wasn't. But they haven't fallen down yet. That's the important thing, isn't it? And the heat off the beams when you're welding them to that intensity, it gets really hot. It's amazing. Now then, Wade Mayer. Hello from the home, Jolliet Jake. I've never heard of Jolliet Jake. You'll have to explain, Wade. You will. Steve. Thanks, Simon. It's an uphill fight, but not giving up just yet. Steve, you are not to give up. We're all here for you, matey, and you will make it through it. I am absolutely sure. But keep on, you know, take every day as a little step, and as long as you're going in the right direction, that's all that matters. It really is. Kev Straw, Monochrome Racing. Going off topic at the moment, what scope do you use? Been looking at the Pico 2204A. Will you be doing any videos on scoping? Kev, there are lots of videos. I'm by no means an expert on using an oscilloscope. You want to check out Steve's channel, and of course Ivan as well, and Eric O, all very, very experienced oscilloscope operators, and really good at diagnostics on cars, especially modern cars as well, because they're a bit of a headache. I have, should we go? I'll go and get it. Hang on, I'll go and get the scope. Bear with me. I'm back. Right. This is my scope. And when was the last time I used this? Well, I was going to use it in the South Island, but that all got cancelled. That is mine. And it is a 4425. There you look on the back. And believe it or not, I've actually got two of these. I've got one that I keep here in the workshop as my main scope. And then I also have another one, which I keep in the truck. Now, Picoscope sent me both of these. Oh, I have a little one as well, a little 2-channel one. There we go. I have a little 2-channel one as well, which is what I bought at the start. And there's quite a few videos. The first ones I really did, I think, on the channel was working out a problem with an MR2. Turned out to be a faulty ECU, although I was adamant that that wasn't the problem. I wanted to work my way through, logically, to the diagnosis. So there was a few episodes in that one, but it was really, really good. But the lads at Picoscope in the UK, obviously, Pico Technologies, they saw those videos and they contacted me and said, hey, you're not really got the right kind of scope for that job. And I'm like, well, it's all I can afford, to be honest. The channel doesn't have a particularly big budget, although it's a bit better now than it used to be. And they said, look, you need an automotive scope. For what you're doing, you need an automotive scope. And I said, well, okay, that's great, but I can't afford it. And they said, don't worry, we'll send you one. In fact, we'll send you two. One that you can lend out to the motorcycle shops that you deal with in New Zealand, and hopefully they can see the benefits of having a scope and get to grips with using one. And I did that for about 2 years. That scope spent all of those 2 years just being shipped from one motorcycle shop to another, and the technicians got used to using it, and it was really, really good. And since then, some of those shops have now purchased their own Pico or another scope, but most of them purchase Picos because they are the best. And it's really helped to lift, if nothing else, the awareness and complexity of modern ATVs and RoVs and the equipment that you need to efficiently diagnose problems. Once, if you can get to use them on a regular basis, you become a lot more proficient at using them. If it just sits on the shelf for 6 months and you dig it out, then you always struggle a little bit to get your head around how to set it up and what kind of waveform you're expected to see. So it's something which you've got to keep practice. That's the way to use a scope, I do use mine reasonably regularly, but I can't do videos on every diagnostic because it's usually on a brand that I can't show on the channel. So it becomes difficult. But I do enjoy using it, and there's probably about 20 or 30 videos on the channel using the Pico. And if something else comes along, which, I want to use it and it's not that particular brand, then I will definitely make videos on it, unless I'm really short of time on the diagnostic. Because making a video takes a lot longer, unfortunately. It does for me, because I waffle. So if you have a choice of a 2-channel or a 4-channel, a 2-channel will do the trick. But I think after a short period of time, you'll kick yourself that you didn't go for a 4-channel. I would strongly recommend just spending that little bit extra and getting the 4-channel, because you'll thank me later, basically. Things are a lot easier, things are a lot quicker to do, and sometimes you need to compare a number of waveforms in real time, and you can't always do that, especially if it's like an intermittent fault. Virginia Governor, my COVID, I just had a cough, and afterwards I was just tired. Lasted about 3 weeks. So fingers crossed I should be all good after Christmas. I think by the general consensus about that. Tony Eden, Andy, Oh my word. Oh, hang on. Quercetin, quercetin, and vitamin C helped me over the last of the fancy flu symptoms and feeling dopey. Interesting. I always try not to take too much medicine if I can help it. And I don't really have any flu-like symptoms anymore. I'm well on the road to recovery, to be honest. So I'm good. And Mrs. Mechanic's sounding a lot better as well now. But thank you for that, Tony. Richard Perry, hi ending crew. Hope you guys are well. GB. Yes, yeah, we're okay. Probably running at about 82%, I would say at the moment. Got a lot of work ahead of me again today. I did cut yesterday short. We got finished about an hour early, which was nice. I had a good shower and got cleaned up. Yesterday was a very, very muggy day. It was definitely not a day for making videos, that's for sure. Definitely not. Oh, it's not quite finished. Jeez, hang on. Can't be wasted them. They're bloody expensive these days. Daz, 323323. Morning, Andy and crew. Good morning, Daz. Welcome back to the workshop, matey. Steve, take it easy, mate. It takes its toll. Pies will fix it. Pies are definitely making me a bigger person. How's that? But next year, Mrs. Mechanics told me you've got to cut back on the pies, Mr. Young. She's right, I do. And probably the cigarettes as well, to be fair. Connor K, morning, Andy and crew. Like has been clicked. Good morning, Connor. Privileged to have you back in the workshop, sir. Yeah, it's been a weird week. Weird 2 weeks, in all honesty. It really has. And looking back, the last couple of weeks have really flown by. They didn't seem to drag. It went pretty quick. And as much as I hate using the COVID tests, I was looking forward to getting a negative result. But everybody at work's been saying, look, just take it easy. It takes a while to bounce back. You don't have to, come back, 100%. Just do what you need to do the basics, and just slow down a bit. So I've been trying to do that, but then this RoV came in, this last one. I hadn't planned on doing this one before Christmas, but it had to get, the brakes were so badly seized on, it had to get towed off the beach. I went to that club probably about 6 weeks ago and fitted a new exhaust, a new silencer to the vehicle. It had rusted out, which is another common problem with these surf club machines. After about 2 years, the exhausts just tend to fail. Just can't take it. All that salt water and stuff. Just the moisture in the air. And I drove it then, and I said to the guy, I said, brakes are binding a bit, mate. He says, yeah. It'll be all right. We don't go far in it. It'll be all right until we get the season out of the way, and then we'll get it serviced then. And I'm like, well, the trailer's here. I can always take it away now and service it for you. He says, no, we'll have to leave it a bit. So it's their call at the end of the day. It's not mine. Right, let's get this pie in the pie warmer before I forget, because I'm useless when it comes to putting pies in the pie warmer. So those that have just joined us, this is Irvin's The Beast. We know that it's not really the beast, is it? It's just a pie. This is the beef, bacon and cheese. So at least it's got some bacon in. That might be its saving grace. We have already scored this in the past. Not this particular pie, but another one. Probably about a year ago, I would say. And it scored 94, which isn't a bad score, really. So I'll score it again. We'll see where we end up. Right. Here we go. Boom. Pie time. It has cooled down a lot. It was red hot coming out of the microwave. I only had it on defrost as well. We've got some structural failure here. Underside feels very slimy actually because it's been warmed up in the microwave. It's not ideal. So we'll get it put in the pie warmer and hopefully it'll harden up. Eesh. Okay, turn you around. 3, 2, 1, boom. I've got pie on my screen now. God damn it. Right, here we go. Not too fast for YouTube. Boom, 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 boom. Into the pie warmer. Probably one of the most famous pie warmers on YouTube. There we go. And it hasn't been cleaned ever. Okay, right. I think probably about there will be enough. Not quite the 23 minutes. It is still warm. There we go. Right, pie is in the pie warmer. What else have we got to show you? Okay, while we're having a wander. Now, here is all the laser cutting. This is the last. I really sincerely think this is the last batch now we have to make up. Mrs. Mechanic did a quick count up yesterday to make sure we had all the bits and that the laser cut in place hadn't shortchanged us. It doesn't look a huge amount, but there's quite a lot of work goes into doing all the finishing and sandblasting and painting and stuff. So we've got that to look forward to. What else have we got? Oh yes, I still haven't cleaned the last bits out of the ratty drawers yet. They're all still stacked up, so I'll get around to that. And I did notice I found this on the floor. Look at this, right? So what do you reckon that might be? Okay, it's a gasket of some kind. It's sort of foamy. And then I looked up and I went, oh yeah, because it was on the floor down here, just in all the rangum down there. Look, and I looked up, and it's off that plug. That's a 16 amp outlet, 240 volt, which we use sometimes for this air compressor and also for the MIG and stuff as well. So it's a really good power feed for the workshop. And unfortunately, the gasket never quite got put in, did it, Mr. Electrician person? And if you look really closely, 2 of the screws are missing. That one's missing, and the one just down there as well. So at some point, I've got to turn the power off and fit that. But at the moment, it just lives on there, look, to remind me. Yes, quality workmanship going on right there. I'm very impressed. I did ring them up and let them know, actually, so I wasn't very happy. Hang on a minute. There we are, that's better. Right. And yes, the old Triumph is still here. Alan is giving me some grief over not having it finished yet. But like I keep saying to him, I need the special tools, which Alan's supposedly sorting out, so I can get the primary drive stripped down, and then we can get that last gearbox shaft out, so I can check them all for straightness. You know, it's all still in there somewhere. In there, I've got to get this shaft taken out to make sure it's not bent. It's not ideal. And I can get the selector wheel thing taken out as well and have a look at that. So it's that sort of, it's going to turn into a long-term project, isn't it? It's sort of hit a wall at the moment until I get those special tools. So come on, Alan, get me the tools. Right, there we go. That should work. Okay, so the pie is in the pie warmer. That's not ideal, is it? There we go. The pie's in the pie warmer. We'll see what happens when it comes out. But it was mega slimy putting it in there. I don't like warming things up in the microwave, to be honest, as regards defrosting and stuff, because they always sweat quite a bit, the pies, don't they? Right, where do we get to? Daniel Bedell, 2005 Chevrolet Impala, 3.4 litre. Brake pedal goes 90% to the floor before it engages the brakes. I've bled out the air that was in the system, which wasn't very much to speak of. This car does have an ABS. Ooh, well, you might have some trapped air in the ABS module. I know on some of the modern motorcycles that we do that have ABS, we have to use the diagnostic tool that we have to actually actuate the ABS as part of the bleed up procedure to make sure that there's no air trapped in there. And if you don't do it, the brakes are never very good. There's always a bit of air stuck in there somewhere. But yeah, that's not ideal. It's not ideal at all. What I used to do on the little Suzuki Jeeps, which didn't have ABS obviously, but when I was trying to track down where the air was, and they had a load sensing proportioning valve in the rear up on the chassis, and that was usually a contender for trapped air, and 9 times out of 10 the bleed nipples were seized solid on those. But I'd go around and I'd clamp each of the flexes one at a time, one on each wheel down to the caliper. Just clamp the flexi, try the brake pedal again, and more often than not, it wasn't. In this case, it won't apply to yours, but it wasn't air in the system. If it wasn't air in that proportioning valve, which would affect the rear, more often than not, it was excessive piston retraction that was causing a low pedal. So I used to pull the calipers off and rebuild the calipers and stuff, and it would usually be fine after that. But yeah, you don't need much additional piston retraction. Or, for example, if there's a failed wheel bearing, bit of play in the wheel bearing, then the caliper, the disc, because it sits at an angle, it pushes the piston further back into the caliper than it would normally go. And of course, the caliper, when you press the brakes, it has to basically straighten the disc up to vertical before it can grip the discs. You get a lot more piston travel because of that. So all those kind of things you need to check as well. But you're a very experienced mechanic, all the stuff that you fixed, so I'm sure you're aware of those sort of basics. But yeah, just clamping flexes off just to work out possibly, is it a caliper problem? Is it a brake problem as opposed to the brake system? I mean, potentially it could also be a failed seal in the master cylinder, couldn't it? That if one of the chambers isn't really pressurizing very well, and you're getting fluid bypass on one of the main seals, then of course you're going to get more travel as well. Something else to bear in mind is if you put new brake pads in and the discs are a little bit ribbed, then the brake pads, when they make contact with the disc, they give a bit because they sort of act a bit springy on those ridges. But that will come right with a bit of driving, and the pads then wear to match the ridges on the disc. But with it having ABS, I'd definitely be going after that first. Now then, where do we get to? Daniel, hang on, some more from Daniel. Oh, here we go, ABS module. So what I'm going to, here we go. So what I'm going to do is clamp off all 4 brake hoses. And I'm going to check to see the 3 main concerns. I have master cylinder, brake booster, and ABS module, but I can't find any more air in it. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it could be an air problem other than possibly in the actual ABS module itself. But sometimes a difficult one, if you haven't got a scan tool to actually purge that ABS module, then it can be a bit difficult sometimes on certain cars. I try to stay away from that kind of stuff, to be honest. I don't have a scan tool here either. I'm probably one of the few automotive YouTube channels that doesn't have a scan tool, because most of the time it's motorcycles that I work on, or quad bikes or RoVs. I don't really do any work on cars these days. It's just the way it is. Although saying that, the little Jimny's going to be getting some extras, some accessories fitted. That's about as far as I'm going to get working on a car. Daytona Hicks. Hi Andy, good morning Daytona Hicks. Welcome to the workshop. Daniel, hang on, he's running out of words. Because I can't find any more air in the system, and the brake pads on all 4 corners are like new, but the brake pedal still goes down to the floor. Okay, so just check that the brake pads, they're not brand new, right? The vehicle has been driven a bit with those pads in, so just check that they have worn to match any grooves that are in the disc. Daytona Hicks, I like your content, thank you very much. Virginia Governor, please Andy, ask Tang Tools to give me a free empty toolbox, please. Okay. Virginia, you are in South Africa, right? There is Tang Tools in South Africa. Not sure they can give stuff away for free, but it's worth a try. Brandon will have contacts over in South Africa for the offices over there. So if you want to flick me an email through, I'll happily forward it on to Brandon at Tang Tools here in New Zealand. And who knows, you might get something. You don't know until you ask, right? That's the way I work. Daytona Hicks, a very good morning. Now I catch your live stream. Yes, it's nice to have you on board. Steve, 8 long months of salad. Ooh. Rest, no beer or Siggy's pal. Oh man. Last issue is acute dermatitis. Can't hold a cup at the minute. Oh man. Want to get back to it, but body and mind are not ready yet. I'll be back. You will. Dermatitis is not good at all. My godfather, Ted, he passed away many years ago now. I sort of grew up with him, and he was the guy that showed me the basics, as regards working on old British motorcycles and stuff. And I really haven't worked on very many at all. I'm still learning now. I'm more the Japanese kind of motorcycle guy. But I remember one night he was taking his wife Joan out for a meal, and Mrs. Mechanic used to live next door. That's how I met Emma, because I used to go around to Ted's house on a regular basis. And he'd been in his shed, he'd been working on an old BSA something or other, and he was washing his hands in the sink, and I could smell bleach. And I'm like, Ted, what are you doing? He says, I have to bleach my hands to get to get rid of the oil, all the oil stains in his skin. And I'm like, "Man, you can't do that." And he had all cuts and stuff on his fingers, and you could tell he was in horrific pain. But he wanted to get his hands nice and clean for taking Joan out for the meal. And he'd grown up in an era, because he used to be a mechanic for a few years when he was younger, before he moved across to sales, and he was a very, very good, genuine salesman. And he only ever worked, apart from his time in the army, he only ever worked for my dad from starting as a teenager right through to retirement. One employer. How cool is that? Top bloke. But they used to wash their hands when he was a teenager, when he was a mechanic. They used to wash their hands in diesel to get them clean at the end of the day. Unbelievable, really, isn't it? So no wonder his hands were in a bad state. You got to look after your hands. Simon, Daniel Bedell, have you bled from the unions? Sometimes holds air in the unions. Very good point, Simon. Pete Nees, raining again. Pete, it's been raining here for 2 to 3 weeks, nearly every single day. It was raining this morning when I came out. Luckily, it stopped while I was putting the bikes outside, but then it's been on and off ever since. Yesterday, it rained all day long. It rained all last night. It was pretty heavy rain last night. It's just bizarre. Normally, this time of year, things have dried out by now, you know, but the sun's still really quite powerful, even this time of year here in New Zealand. So as soon as the sun breaks through, you get all that moisture entering the air, and it's so humid. It's crazy. Ashley, my mate Woody in York just sold his motorcycle shop. I remember Woody's in Haley's Terrace. I've been there. That's where I bought my Suzuki Beamish 250 from many, many years ago. Wow. Formerly Motorcycle City, owned by Allen Mountains, Mountains. And I think it's going to be a dentist's. Oh, okay. So one less bike shop in York. As a kid, I used to go there. Wow. Woody's has closed down. Unbelievable. And I used to go to Motorcycle City as well, and Allen Mountains. Jeez, it's a changing world, isn't it? End of an era. Just say hi to Woody, will you? He probably won't know who I am. If you tell him Andy Young from Norman Anchors, which was the car dealership we used to have in York, he might just remember. If you tell him about the Suzuki Beamish 250 that I bought from him, well, Dad paid for it because I was only a kid, but I'm pretty sure it came from that shop. Absolutely sure of it. Wow, that stirs some memories. Simon, have any of the not to be mentioned places bought a scope for their workshops? Yes, from memory, I know definitely 2. I think 3 have, and there's definitely another one still on the fence considering it. There is a company in Auckland that brings in the Pico scopes, Meter Master up in Auckland, and they also do training as well. So I've been trying to get them to buy the scope and to include some on-site training as well. Plus, of course, there's my videos that they can watch, just have a play around and just learn the basics. But to get some proper training would be really good. And no, I don't do scope training with these bike shops. It's not part of my remit with my employer, so they're on their own when it comes to that. All I can do is provide it through videos on the channel. Daytona Hicks, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy Andy's content. Yes, maybe not so much the live streams, to be fair, because they're a bit weird. There's not normally, it's not like a normal video, is it? It's a live stream. It's just a get together. It's a bit of a chat, bit of a catch up. That's what the live streams are about. Very different to the videos that I put out. And I think it's important to have a difference, really. Ashley Derrick, silicon bronze MIG brazing recommended by car manufacturers for panel repairs, as it evidently retains the steel protective coating, the zinc. So it's a corrosion, and it protects the anti-corrosion aspect. Good to know. Ashley says, excited to try out repairing Honda silencers and mud guards, etc. Quite a few YouTube videos. I had never heard of it either since about 2 weeks ago. I hadn't heard of it. I had no idea it even existed, but definitely, the more options we have for repairs, the better, right? Daniel, pre-COVID and post-COVID pie scoring, cool. Well, it is. Yes, maybe my taste buds are going to be quite different. Who knows? Jim Haynes, running a little late, and did hit the like button. Thank you, Jim. Jim, I was using the ratchets again yesterday, the larger one, the 3/8, the big power bar ratchet that you sent over. Super useful, and it was absolutely perfect for taking the steering rack out of the RoV that I'm working on now. Previous to that, I used to use a 1/2" swivel head power bar ratchet, but it was just a bit bulky, and it's very tight in there. Ideally, you'd take the radiator out, but I didn't want to take the radiator out and the fan out because you got to bleed it all back up again, and time is money at the end of the day, isn't it? Got to try and keep the costs down for the clubs. And that particular tool that you sent me was absolutely perfect. It's got the fine tooth ratchet, 120 teeth in the ratchet system, and it was brilliant. And it had it was good length as well, so I had plenty of, and it wasn't even really a struggle to get the bolts out. It made the whole job an absolute breeze. So thank you again. Jim says again, if they're floating calipers, make sure the sliders are free. Most definitely. Yes, that's a 101 when it comes to calipers. I imagine the brakes were probably, or the pedal was a lot higher before you started working on the vehicle. So possibly, the slider condition won't have changed pre-repair, post-repair. So that might be an indication that it's not the sliders. But again, if you clamp off the flexes and then get a feel of the pedal, then just do one caliper at a time. And then when you get a good pedal, the caliper that's clamped off, that's potentially at least part of your problem. Simon, the new Ford Transits are almost impossible to bleed without a scan tool. Took me a day to find that one out, lol. Yeah, bleeding brakes. I did the last RoV I did, we were bleeding the brakes upon that. Mrs. Mechanic's great at doing the pedal, and I do the bleed nipply bit. And we always do the old school, open the bleed nipple, press the pedal down, close the bleed nipple, bring the pedal back up. And it always works really, really well. But that one particular RoV that, was just, it had new brake pads in it. Yes, the discs were a little bit scored as well, but the pedal wasn't as crisp. It wasn't quite as, positive as regards a nice instant stop. They don't have a brake booster on them, by the way, and there's no ABS. But with a little bit of driving, took it around the block, the brakes quickly came round. So I think it was, in that particular case, it was the pads weren't fully matched to the disc surface. Brand new flat pad and the disc surface slightly ribbed. So it took a little bit of driving around with the brakes, just rubbing lightly just to get the pads to match. And then the brakes were fine after that. So, little tricks. Jim, biggest tool brand made and sold in South Africa is Guido. Okay. Not a bad brand. The Giants, thank you, Andy, for helping. I sent you the email I'll send you the email in the new year. Just give you some time to get back to 100%. No worries. I'll keep your eye open for that, and I'll flick it through to Brandon. Who knows? He's a top bloke, and he might be able to twist their arm over at Tame Tools in South Africa to help you out. The Giant says, Jim Haynes, I am very disappointed with Guido Tools. Our youth from South Africa too. No, Jim's from the States. Pink Knees, Steve, the best wishes to you, and keep that stiff upper lip. Most definitely. We all wish you a strong and speedy recovery. Just hang in there, Steve. You'll come right. You will. You've had quite a roller coaster of a ride, haven't you, to be honest? Daniel, all brake pads and all rotors are well within spec. Yes, they have been fitted to the rotors perfectly, but I didn't see any signs of a leakage of brake fluid anywhere. So I'm assuming that the system and the brake pads on all four corners are like new, but the brake pedal still goes down to the floor. ABS module took a crap on the owner. Right. So did you say you've replaced the ABS module? That's the job it's in for. Jim Haynes, those long ratchets are addictive. It's bloody good. It really is. It's a pleasure to use it. And also I used it again for on the calipers. There's two brake pad retaining pins that are threaded into the caliper body. It's not really very good, to be honest. I don't like the design. And the pins are quite soft. And they often seize in, especially on these surf club machines that are on the beach all the time. And I used the ratchet just to try and ease those pins to undo them, and it made life a lot easier. I mean, sure enough, most of them snapped, so they need to be replaced, but I did manage to get them out without using any heat. I don't like using heat on calipers, to be fair, but we got there in the end. It wasn't too bad. I've done worse, but the pistons were very, very badly seized in. There was a lot of build-up of corrosion behind the dust seal. It's not a bellows type seal. It's a bit like the main seal, but it's just inside, like Range Rovers used to have, you know, and Land Rovers and stuff. And what happens is the corrosion builds up, and it causes that seal to clamp really tight against the piston, so you don't get any more retraction, and hence the brakes bind on. So, you know, Mrs. Mechanic cleans all those grooves out. She has a little wire wheel on the Dremel, and she does a really neat job of cleaning all the crap out of those grooves. So when the new seals go in, there's the, you know, back to proper clearance again, you know. She's very helpful in the workshop. I don't have the patience for that kind of stuff. Oh, geez, so many comments. Heaps of comments. What's going on there? Right. Daytona Hicks. I learned how to change the spark plugs in my Mazda Demio after watching your upload on servicing a Mazda Demio. The engine was a little different, but everything else was pretty much the same process. I think from memory, the only thing I didn't do was to change the fuel filter on that particular vehicle because it turned out it was inside the fuel tank, and it was only in for a minor service. I couldn't be bothered, to be honest. I really didn't have the time. The lady needed the car back. So I probably still got the fuel filter kicking around here somewhere. But yeah, it was just too much of a job, to be fair. And I think the biggest problem with that car, it may not have been when I did the service. I think it was previous. It was running really badly at idle. Wouldn't idle properly. And it turned out the throttle body was really dirty. So we cleaned that out and it was all fixed. That's all it was. It's bizarre. Daytona Hicks, they were so hard to unscrew, I almost gave up. Yeah, I had an old Nissan Patrol 6-cylinder, straight 6 petrol. And I think number 5, it was a 3.3 petrol. And number 5 spark plug was rusted in. And I tried, I sprayed stuff down there. I tried a few times to get it out, and I just went, you know what? I'm not going to snap it off. It was still running on that cylinder. We'll just leave it alone. Otherwise, you know, if it had snapped off, it could have been a head-off job. And in all honesty, the vehicle just wasn't worth it. So it was pretty rough. So we just left it alone, and it was fine. It never dropped that cylinder. It was all right. So sometimes you just got to know, do I really want to open that can of worms? No, I don't. Ashley Derrick. Sure will say hi to Woody for you. Thank you. He was previously at Acom Motorcycles, which was previously owned by my other mate, Chris Brack. It was evidently Allen Mountain's original shop too. Wow. Interesting stuff. It might have been the one in Acom that I bought it from then, from memory. Acom Motorcycles. Could well have been. But I remember his surname was Wood. I remember the Woody bit. Jim Haynes. I do have a few Guido tools, some from South Africa. A friend gave me them. They seem the same as German tools. Well, German tools are usually very, very high quality. Daytona Hicks left me with a little bruise. It was definitely a harder job than I was expecting. Oh dear. Daniel, here's another avenue that I think I'm going to try. Taking and forcing new brake fluid through the bleeder valves and into the system, all of the way to the reservoir, simultaneously cleaning all of it out. So you're going to so what you're saying is you're going to back bleed. You're going to, a bit like we do on mountain bikes. We do a lot of back bleeding on calipers on mountain bikes when I was a bicycle mechanic. And that was the way that you bled up mountain bike brakes. You'd have a little syringe and you put it on the bleeding nipple of the caliper and you'd force fluid back up the system into the reservoir. Definitely worth a try. Simon, I know it's not spec, but PTFE plumber's tape on the brake pins helps a lot. Okay. The problem with these pins is they don't seize where the threads are. They seize right at the end of the pin where it's already gone through both brake pads, and it sits in about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 millimeters of casting at the end. It just pokes in to support the pin, and it's in there that it seizes up. And I find that if I give it a little tap with a hammer, it sometimes helps to break it free a little bit. Obviously, you can't hit it too hard. It's aluminium. You don't want to deform it. And I've obviously put a lot of freeing oil in there as well. But that's usually when they do snap, that's the bit that stays in, and then you can get it out with a punch. It's not too bad. And I always try to fit new pins wherever I can, because it will make life easier the next time, a little bit easier, hopefully. And of course, they get I use that Forge aluminium paste on the pins, and since I've been doing that, it really does help. That one that I stripped yesterday, I didn't see any aluminium paste, so I think that was pre me using it. So those calipers probably haven't been serviced for about 18 months, hence why everything was seized up, to be honest. Daniel Bedell, old nasty brake fluid. Daniel Bedell, the brake fluid in the reservoir looks like chocolate. Ah, okay. Well, if there's any black material in the brake fluid, that's usually a sign that they're rubber particles from the seals. And of course, rubber compresses. So if you've got a lot of that in the brake fluid, that could be another reason why your pedal's a bit low, because all those little tiny fragments of rubber that's in the brake fluid is all getting squished smaller. You need to get it all out. A full brake fluid flush. And to be honest, I made an assumption that you'd done that anyway through the bleeding process, that it would have cleaned all that out. You may want to actually take the master cylinder off and clean that, or at least the reservoir, and clean it all out properly. But it's also, if that rubber's come from somewhere, it is an indication that some of the seals within the system, probably the master cylinder, have worn. So you may have a problem with the master cylinder. Hang on. The Giant. Jim, the newer Guido tools quality has dropped and don't want to replace a rusted breaker bar. No. Jim Haynes, next week will be Christmas Day for you. So if we are not here, I want to wish everybody and their families a Merry Christmas, even if somebody is offended. Hopefully not. You just wish them a Merry Christmas. I know we're a few days ahead. Am I going to do a live stream on Christmas Day? Probably not. I think Mrs. Mechanic would probably not want me to do that. I've got family stuff going on. So I'll probably see you in the new year, the following Sunday, which is probably going to be New Year's Day, right? I could do one on New Year's Day. That's not the end of the world. We could see the new year in together, couldn't we? We'll see. You'll all be out partying. You won't want to watch a live stream anyway, will you? We'll see. We'll see what happens. It might just be me and my coffee on my own. The Giant, Jim, do you have a YouTube channel? Pete Neves, I don't think Jim does. Pete Neves, use a little never seize on the end of the pin. I do that every time. But the corrosion is so bad, it often causes it still to seize up. But I found the Forge stuff, the aluminium paste, which is a bit like never seize. It really does help. I've done 4 services now in the last few weeks, and all of the other pins, none of them snapped, and they had the never seize on them. So there you go. Simon, I know the caliper you're on about, made by Nissan Shower, and used a lot on Jap bikes. It is. Daniel Bedell, no rubber particles in the fluid at all. Okay, well, it's not that then, is it? That means your seals are in good nick. Okay, or at least not breaking down. Right, let's go and get a pie, because I'm getting hungry. Right, turn you around, 3, 2, 1, boom. Here we go. Pie time. I wonder what it's going to be like. It can't be anywhere near as slimy as it was. Ooh. Okay, definitely feels a lot more rigid. We've got a massive fissure. Oh, geez. Hang on, this could be a 2. Let me just try and get that on there. Look, right. pretty hot, so just bear with me. Keep it in focus. Look at that. Holy moly. Right. This is extremely hot. Wow. Turning around. 3, 2, 1, boom. There we go. That's better. Right. That could have been a pie-tastrophe. It was that bloody hot. Should have had my welding gloves on. Right. Quick squiz round. We've got a huge... Look at that. Monster crack running down there. Pies don't like freezers, do they? But the rest of it doesn't seem too bad. On the top, looking pretty good. Underneath, a bit of a crack there. I'll be conscious of that one during the eating, the consumption part. Right, so for those that have just joined us, just balance it on top of my coffee cup. There we go. We have got the Beast from Irvin's. It's not really the Beast, is it? Beef, bacon and cheese. And this is a 210 gram pie. And this one has been in the freezer and it's been defrosted in the microwave, so it's not ideal, to be honest. We have already scored this one quite some time ago, and it got 94. Now, obviously, there are a few parameters, or a couple of parameters that are different now to the previous one, and one of them is Simon's personal criteria, which is the pie server attractiveness. And I remember buying these from the Countdown supermarket in Taupo. I bought, I think, 4 at the time, as just as stock, basically, because sometimes I don't have pies. I don't always get a chance to pick one up during the week. And the young lady was extremely helpful on the counter and very nice to talk to and very welcoming and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure she'll be getting a reasonably good score when we come to that bit. Okay, just while that's cooling down a little bit, where do we get to? Daniel had made some meatloaf for dinner. Ooh, very good. Daytona Hicks, pie-tastic. Hee. Jim Haynes, I just use Andy's channel to rummy mouth to the world. That's okay. That's all good, Jim. Pete Neves, don't forget to close the warmer door or Mr. Mouse may show up again, lol. I will close the door a bit later on. I was in a Bernie hand situation at the time, so it can just wait a little bit. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate that. Okay, so we have a blank score sheet. Let's give it a go. Now, obviously, we're going to start at the big fissure going on there, and the big crack, just to get that one out of the way. Oh, it's got a letter on the top. Look, it's got a Z or an N. No idea what that stands for. Right, it is quite hot, so bear with me. Oh, oh, hot, 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 hot. Don't need that, go away. Right. It's quite crispy, which is nice. I was expecting to be all soggy and horrible. We have got a bit of movement in the pie, but I'm doing my best to keep it all together. Actually tastes pretty good. I think the crispiness of the pastry has definitely added to what I was expecting to be a really soggy, horrible pie. So that was good. Pie warmer's done its trick again. Can't beat a good pie warmer. Mrs. Mechanic was going to sell that pie warmer. I saw it in the stuff that was going to go out of the house to like charity and stuff. I think she was planning to do a car boot sale. And she put $20 on it. And I said, you can't sell that. I need it for in the workshop. And man, it's warmed a lot of pies now. Famous it is. Whew, wow, pretty hot. Okay. Daniel, original or extra crispy? Oh, it's all right, actually. I quite like the fact that the gravy's got a bit burnt. It adds a bit more flavour to it. Daytona Hicks, what's the pie's price? Haven't bought Irvin's in yonks. Oh, you're not missing them much, to be fair. Irvin's don't tend to score that well. I would say, from memory, this is probably the highest scoring Irvin's pie we've ever done. It got 94 last time, which is actually not a bad score. I think it was the bacon that saved the day, actually, on that one. They're usually about $4.50, $5 a pop from the supermarket, somewhere around that mark. They're not hugely expensive. They're not my go-to pie, to be honest, but it's saved the day today, hasn't it? It's given us a pie to have for breakfast. A very hot pie. Now then, Simon, getting that mill moved last Sunday was fun. Underestimated how heavy the things are. I was very fortunate. We just purchased Trevor the tractor only a couple of months earlier, and Trevor managed just to get it off the trailer. It was a little bit high. I think I had to drive Trevor up the ramps onto the trailer, lift it up, and then reverse back down the ramps. And I was a bit concerned about the ramps on the trailer not being able to take the weight of the digger and the mill, but there was a few creaks, but it did it. But yeah, they're not light, and the biggest problem I found is they're extremely top heavy. They're not particularly stable, so it was swinging around on a chain, and I was a bit concerned it was going to fall or crash into the bucket, you know, because I didn't have the forks at that time. Still pretty hot. Okay, so taste stroke flavor contents. This is not the pastry itself. This is the meat and the gravy and whatever else is in there. It's not bad. It's almost verging on being too dry, almost. But that's my own fault because it's been it's been frozen. It's been in the microwave to defrost. It's been in the pie warmer maybe for a little bit too long. It was only a guesstimate. It's not bad. I like the fact that the gravy's gone, a bit burnt in places. That adds to the flavour side of it. I'm going to give it a 7 on the flavour. I think 6 would have been realistic to now, but I'm going to give it an extra point because I think it was me that overcooked it. So we'll give it 7 for that one. Now, Structure Foley Partners, it is surviving. It's sort of, now we've got rid of that big crack. It's really no different to any sort of normal pie, really. The contents inside doesn't look like there's very much, does it? The top has really sagged down, so calling it the beast is really a bit far-fetched, in all honesty. Yeah, there really isn't that much contents. It's pretty menial on the content side, this one. Not good. Runnability test. Let's do that. We know what the answer to this is going to be. It's red hot, so if it's going to run, it should be running now. 45 degrees, 30 seconds. There is absolutely no movement at all. It's rock solid, this pie. All the gravy has sort of gone quite congealed in there. So, full marks for runnability in this particular case. I can't remember what the scores were individually for the previous one of these, so we'll see. Meat quality. Yeah, very small chunks of beef in there. There really is, or steak, should I say. There really isn't. It's not the nice big chunks that we get in some of the quality pies. This is just a bit bigger pieces than you get in a mince pie, in all honesty. You can taste the bacon, and you can see the bacon. There's a little tiny bit of bacon there, look. Okay. Meat quality, 6. Now, this one is what we call pie to crust ratio. So it's the volume on the cross section. It is quite dry of the pastry and the contents. Well, looking at that, there is a lot of pastry and not a lot of contents. It's going to get a pretty poor score on that. I'm going to give it 3. It's going to get a 3. It's pretty poor. I'm not impressed. Now, availability stroke logistics. Irvin's pies, majority of dairies, the odd petrol station. Most petrol stations tend to do their own pies these days. And of course, supermarkets, which means you can buy it online. So what are we going to give them for that? They are reasonably readily available across the whole country, especially if you go to a supermarket. So I need mine on like 8. Let's give them an 8. They're not absolutely everywhere, but they are most places. Pastry taste rating. Okay, I'm going to steal a bit of pastry now. The pastry on the corners is quite crispy. It's quite dry. So we'll start off with that. Oh dear. Luckily I've cleaned the bench. It's crispy. It's quite chewy. Doesn't melt in the mouth. It is quite dry. Probably my problem, to be honest. My cooking. Right, a bit of pastry off the top. Oh, that's a big chunk. Now that's quite gooey. It's not a great flavoured pastry, to be honest. It's a bit bland. You get a good view of the meat there. Look at that. So lots of little bits of steak. No big chunks at all. So pastry taste rating, we've had a lot better, to be honest. A little bit of seasoning would have been nice, just to give it some kind of, it's almost like a nondescript flavour. It's just bland. I'm going to give it a 4. We've had a lot better than that. Okay, still tastes when cold. It's still red hot. We'll have to wait for that one. Packaging design. Well, that's what we've got as a packet. Now it's plastic. The plastic is perforated because a lot of these pies spend time in those pie warmers in the petrol stations and the dairies and stuff. And without the little holes in them, they get really hot and sweaty and quite soggy. So that's why they've gone with that. It has got a window. You can see what you're buying. Reasonable amount of work gone into it. There's a lot of information on the back as well. And their pies are colour coded. So orange denotes the contents. So, I don't know. Should we give them a 7? Bit of work got into that, hasn't there? 7 or a 6? I think a 7. We'll be lenient today. We'll give them a 7 for that one. Packaging design. Now, is the packaging recyclable? It isn't. It's got a little label on the back there, a little man with a dustbin saying, put it in the bin. It's not recyclable. But they have told us it's not recyclable, so they get 1 point for that. So we'll give them 9. We'll give them 1 for that, sorry. Give them 1 for that. Where do we get to? Simon done that one. Daytona Hicks. I easily get addicted to pies. Join the club, mate. The Giant Governor, your pie warmer is part of your workshop equipment. It is. It absolutely is now. It didn't used to be. Daytona Hicks. I remember when Big Ben's pies only cost $1. I think I remember that too. Weren't the best pies in the world, but for $1, you know. The Giant's prices on everything has gone through the roof. It really, really, really has. Things are so expensive now. Daytona Hicks. When I was little, it was like a decent meal on a budget. Yes, it would be. Sometimes Mrs. Mechanic will do me an evening meal with a pie and then just some potatoes and gravy and maybe a bit of sweet corn, and that's a meal. It works really well. Daniel, I said I would give the pie a 3 score for the pie to... oh, really? You give it a 3 as well. Good man. Daytona Hicks. Point for recyclable packaging. Well, I think we've done that in the past. They only get 1 out of 10. And it's only really because they've told us it's not recyclable. At least we know we've got clarification that it can't be put in the recycling. It's got to go in the bin. But yeah, I don't know. Should it get 0? I'll leave that to you guys. Should it get 0? Tell me, or should I just give it the 1? You know, this is a community score thing. It's a forum, so I'm open to options. Right. Let's keep going. We've got a big crack developing down the bottom there. Look, it's really opened up now. It's not bad. If you were at the side of the road, starving, and this is the only pie that's sold at the petrol station, it's been the pie warmer for 4 hours or something, nobody else has bought it. It's doing its trick. It's sort of satisfying the hunger, and that's about all it's doing. It's not too bad. It's not horrific. We've had a lot worse. Where do we get to? The ton of Hicks sad. It's sad that modern, now in this modern age, they're not making the packaging recyclable. There's every opportunity. There's lots of materials out there that they could use, and they're just choosing not to do it. Simon, Asda used to do a 39p beef and veg pie. Was on that scale of so crap, but nice. 39p. Wow. It makes you wonder where they get the ingredients from so cheaply. What are they really? It's like when you go and buy some food, whether it's a pie or what, and it says on it, made, from 100% chicken, and you go, yeah, I bet it is. I bet it's made from every single part of that chicken, just minced down, and that's the contents. There you go. One last look. So it survived pretty well. It hasn't fallen apart. It's done okay. Had a big crack at the start. I think we should give it... It was pretty solid, really, wasn't it? I think we should give it an 8. We'll give it an 8 for that. It hung in there. And I didn't need to implement too much pie management skills either. It sort of just did its job. Now, pie server attractiveness. I know Simon's been sat on the edge of his seat waiting for this. I'd give her a 9. I would. She was very, very nice. Top class. Right. What have we got left? We've got still tasty when cold. We've got post pie heartburn and stuffability score. So I better finish the pie and then we can give you that one. What do we get to? Daniel, you took a sip of your coffee, so I have to take a swallow of my Pepsi from my 1.25 litre bottle. Pepsi's not bad. Did watch I think it was a Netflix documentary thing on, yes, it was the guy that tried to sue Pepsi for his Harrier jump jet. Seen that? It's quite funny, actually. And every person they interviewed that had something to do with the case that he was putting forward, they did a Pepsi versus Coke taste test. So it was quite funny. I tend to drink Coca-Cola, to be fair. I don't really drink Pepsi. Whenever I go and get Coca-Cola, which is not that often, I always just out of habit get Coca-Cola. And I get the classic, one that's full of sugar and that's bad for you because it tastes better. I should do a taste test, really. Right, last bit. Here we go. Jim, being completely political, I saw the new New Zealand law about smoking. How long before they go after everybody? Is there a new law about smoking? I didn't know that there was. Let's have a look. Google. Tell me more, Jim. What is the law on smoking? You mean public? Ooh. New Zealand passes legislation banning cigarettes for future generations. New Zealand will phase in a near total tobacco ban from next year. Legislation passed by Parliament on Tuesday means that anyone born after 2008 will never be able to buy cigarettes or tobacco products. What the hell? Is that right? Holy crap. That is unbelievable that they even think they've got the power to do that. That is terrible. I mean, I can see why they're doing it, right? But even so, dictatorship, maybe? It's not good, that, is it? Thanks, Jim. Wow. I'm going to be able to show my ID when I go and buy cigarettes now. No. Now, where do we get to? Lots of comments. Hang on, scroll back. Daniel, sorry I had to take 4 swallows. All good, mate. Daytona Hicks, if the bakery is open, I might drive down in my Mazda Demio and buy a steak and cheese pie. You see, these live streams, they make people hungry and want pies. Ashley Derrick, wonder what's in Frey Bentos tinned pies. Gone up from £1 to £1.50. Inflation, huh? I'm not a fan of Frey Bentos. A Big Clive, who has a YouTube channel, he did where's my cigarette? He did a Frey Bentos pie review not too long ago. And all I can say is the pie in no way met his expectations. He used to have them as a kid. And of course he thought, oh, I'll do one of those. So he tried one. And he said it was woefully crap in comparison to what he remembers it being as a child. I just don't like the soggy pastry. It's a bit cumbersome being in the tin. You've got to open the tin. I'm always worried about bits of metal from opening the tin in the food. I haven't had one. I think I've had one in New Zealand, maybe 2. Every now and again, I give them a try, and every time I do, it's like, no, why did you bother? This is crap, really. In the UK, very rare we'd have one of those. Very, very rare indeed. And that's the reason why. It never really satisfied things. What? Call and text on another device keeps stopping. What the hell? Stupid phone. What was going on there? Right. Daniel, you already burped once already. Right, thank you for that. We'll bear that in mind. I forgot about that. Simon, that was in the days of the horse meat scandal in the UK. A lot of beef products had horse meat in it. Right, I didn't know that. Wow, horse meat. John Nuttall, 3 flats on the pins in that area with HMP grease works for me. And to Daniel Bedell, some cars need the ABS program activated and cycled with a laptop. Airlocks and the dump valves, I have read. That could well be what it is. Daniel, I'm a Pepsi man, but I used to love Coca-Cola. You see, I'd just go for Coke. Maybe I'll try Pepsi next time. Oh, pardon me, another burp. We need to do some scores. I keep getting dragged into the comments. So would it be tasty when cold? I think that particular pie, in its current condition, if it had been put in the glove box to cool down, would have been quite dry. Cold. I don't think it'd be that good. But it did have bacon, but the bacon didn't seem to save its day this time round. I'm going to give it a 4 for still tasty when cold. Post pie heartburn. Already had 1 burp, maybe 2. Not had any more, so we'll give it 8 for that. That might change as things evolve during the morning. Stuffability score. Do I want any more food? Not really. It did sort of do the trick. Do I feel really satisfied that, wow, that was a cool pie, a very good breakfast, excellent? No, I'm going to give it an 8. I think it could have done better, to be honest. I'm certainly not overstuffed, that's for sure. The contents were pretty poor as regards volume, and to call itself the Beast when it was that poor on contents is just a joke in my book. Maybe it should get a 7. I'm going to give it a 7. I think 8's too much. Let's give it a, you're all shouting 7 at me. I can hear it. There we go. 7 for that one. Right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've got all 13 scores in. Let's see if we can add them up. Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Going down. Right. Right, brain fog. Let's give this one a go. It's not easy when you've got brain fog. Right. So, 15, 25, 31, 34, 42, 46, 50, 57, 58, 66, 73, 82. You see, it's a big difference now. 82 pie now. Right, so what was it? It was an Irving's. The Beast. And it was a beef, only just bacon and cheese. And I'm going to put on it very dry. And it got 82. See, it just shows how the scores can be changed from one pie to the next. So all that tells us is that their quality control is crap. They vary from, you know, and I mean, they got a 9 for pie server attractiveness, so that pulled the score right up. So where did they really struggle with the scores? Let's have a look. So they only got a 1 on recyclable. That was terrible. Still tasty when cold was only 4. Pastry wasn't very good. And the overall flavour was only a 7, so they could get better at the flavour as well. So, yeah, quite a few aspects that were quite low. Okay, let's see where it ends up on the board before my cigarette runs out. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. 82. So it's on the board, on the wall of shame. Oh, we've never had an 82 before. Look at that. Just stick it up there for now. We've got to make it. Oh, I've got to make a gap. Oh, hang on. I'll have to just. I'll deal with this later. We'll stick it in there. Look, I've got a lot to move, so we'll stick it in there. 82. Wow. So even the Mackenzie bacon, egg, and hash pie did better. Wow. And Irving's. Oh, look at that. Hang on. It's exactly as well. Just one score below the Beast mince pie from Irving's. So yeah, not too good. Where's that other one? 94. There he is. So that's the other one there, look, the beef. So I'll have to mark that one as the second option. The second, round 2 of the same pie. Who would have thought? Maybe we should just do an average of the 2 and do one label. Don't know. I'll have a think about that one. Right. Ooh, shut the door. There you go. Right, back to the bench. Boom, boom, boom. Turn you around. Boom. Oh, right, last few comments. We'll finish this cigarette and then we'll call it a day. Where do we get to? Hang on, sort the camera out, Andy. Sort the camera out. There we go. Daniel, just being honest. That's all right. Pete Neves, I like Diet Coke. I hate Diet Coke. Don't like Diet Coke at all. Virginia Governor, how do they stop someone born after 2008 to stop buying cigarettes? I don't know. Maybe everybody's got to show their ID now and their date of birth on the driver's license. I don't know. That's going to be crazy. It's going to be hard to implement, and you'll just get somebody else to buy them for you. That's all that will happen. It's all kids ever used to do anyway, isn't it, when they wanted cigarettes? Daniel, there's going to be another Boston Tea Party, but with a New Zealand twist, if that comes to fruition. Referring to the brand of tobacco thing. The band of tobacco. Yes, I remember the Boston Tea Party. It's going to be quite bizarre, isn't it? That they're trying to implement that kind of stuff. I can see why. I can understand their motives. They don't want people smoking. That's understood. But to put an outright ban and say "thou shalt not smoke" is a bit harsh. Simon, goblin steak puddings just as crap as Frey Bentos. I will stay well away. I've not seen those here. Daytona Hicks, they check their ID and then decline them in the same way they would decline alcohol sale to minors. That's 3 burps. Thanks, Daniel. I agree. What a joke. Yes. Jim, the brake fluid being like mud is fairly bad in anything flushed before putting any new parts, on, or you'll ruin them too. I agree. Absolutely. So have nice clean brake fluid. And brake fluid, a couple of years old and it's about ready for changing. As soon as it loses that sort of straw colour and starts to just start to go a bit darker, always put fresh brake fluid in. And on motorcycles, I mean, you're only talking of a small volume. It's not hard to do, unless it's got ABS, obviously. Simon, can't help but think the new smoking law won't work. Look at prohibition in America. Just pushing it underground and unregulated. It's bizarre, isn't it? Only a few years ago there was a referendum on cannabis, wasn't there, for smoking for New Zealand, or cannabis in general, and it only lost by a very, very slim majority. It was quite bizarre. John Dwyer, howdy, Lord Andy. Nice to see you. Are you well, sir? John, I'm not doing too badly, in all honesty. Just a bit tired, a bit lethargic at the moment. And there's still a bit of brain fog going on, I think. But other than that, fine and extremely busy. Mrs. Mechanic hopefully will be out in the workshop soon. And we'll be doing some more servicing work and repair work on that last RoV that is desperate to go back to Auckland. I really am against the clock on that one. For Giant, wishing everyone a very happy Christmas and a very successful new year. Thank you for always having your live stream. Always look forward. Well, thanks for Jane. I appreciate that. There have been times in the past where we've considered maybe knocking the live stream on the head for a while, but we've always pushed through and kept it going. I enjoy it. It gives me a little bit of time where I'm not on the tools and I'm not at work. It's just nice to have a good chat with people, really, and just relax. This is sort of my Friday night at the pub, because I don't go to the pub on Friday nights anymore. I'm usually driving or I'm already at home. So it's good. It's good fun. Jim Haynes, they will outlaw tobacco and make drugs legal. Yeah, it does seem that way. Daniel, and now here in the US, you can smoke weed legally in most states. It doesn't stack up, does it? It really doesn't. Anyway, we're about the end of the live stream, aren't we? 1 hour and 32 minutes. You see, an hour and a half is about right for a live stream, I think. Any more than that and it gets dragged out, and I don't get enough work done during the day. And less than an hour and a half, it's a bit of a flash in the pan. It's nice to just relax and not have to rush things too much. Daniel, you can even grow your own weed now in most states as well. Wow. I think most of New Zealand does that anyway. John Dwyer, smoke a joint, then you'll feel better. I don't smoke joints. No, I don't do that. I need to keep a clear mind. I do a lot of driving, and it's bad, isn't it? I'm sure plenty of people in New Zealand drive around stoned. Sure they do. John, Mr. Nuttall, all the best and Happy New Year to you as it comes around. Hi, Steve. Nice to hear from you on here. Absolutely, John. It was great to have Steve on board, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of us that we wish him continued success in his recovery. Although it's taken him a while, he will get there, I'm sure. And Steve, when you're ready, come back, because we'll be here for you. Yes, I won't be doing a live stream on Christmas Day. I think that's probably a little bit too far-fetched for Mrs. Mechanic to accept. So this is it. This is me wishing you all a very Merry Christmas, a relaxing time off work, hopefully. Those of you that do need to work over Christmas, well, you're obviously providing a very needed service, and well done. And care to all your families. I hope everybody's going to be fit and well over the Christmas period. No nasty emergencies anywhere. Enjoy the new year. I might see you on New Year's Day, if that's a Sunday. I've no idea. I've lost the plot now. But I'll see you on the next live stream. It won't be next Sunday. We're going to have a Sunday off. It'll be the Sunday after. Okay, crew. Well, until then, you take care of yourselves, and thank you for joining on this live stream. Much appreciated, and for all your support too. Cheers, guys. Over and out.